Her Journey to Healing, Reaching Women with a Desperate Cry is an 8-week Zoom seminar in which Kamala and Winston help women to start living their best life by rediscovering the image of God in their life. Kamala, a licensed marriage and family therapist, joins her husband of 16 years, an ordained pastor, to marry the clinical and the spiritual. You will begin living your best life filled with love, joy, and peace. Register at kwministries.net for this life-changing seminar.
So anxious resistant. So remember there were 4 categories, right?
Mm-hmm.
So anxious resistant kids were on the opposite end of the spectrum. They didn't have a lot of self-confidence. They really clung to their caregivers, whether it's parents. When I say caregivers, I mean parents, grandparents, just old people in their lives who were, really part of that initial bonding experience. For these kids, they tended to have really exaggerated emotional reactions to stuff, but they also kept the distance from their peers. How did this translate into adulthood? That translated into anxious, preoccupied adults. Mm-hmm. And so they kind of formed less secure bonds with partners and feel really desperate for love and affection.
God is patient. God is kind. God is long-suffering. God never fails. God always hopes. God always trusts. God always perseveres. God doesn't envy. God doesn't boast. God doesn't seek his own, but is always seeking what's best for you. God rejoices in the truth.
That's right.
God doesn't define love. God demonstrates love. Hi, how are you? We are so excited that you could join us tonight.
Welcome back to another Monday Night with KW.
Because if it's Monday night,
You're with KW
we're so excited to have you on tonight. And our guest tonight is no stranger to us. This is probably our 10th, 15th, 20th time joining us tonight. But never enough. We're looking forward to having that conversation. How was your Monday? How's your Monday been?
My Monday was very busy.
Remember, we're celebrating.
You see, you took the words out of my mouth.
All right, good.
Even though I started off saying it was very busy, it was a very productive Monday. So that's something to celebrate as far as I'm concerned. How about you?
I had a great Monday. Mondays are usually my day off, except for our program nights. But I had a very busy Monday today. I was at your job, getting ready to be a volunteer chaplain there. So you're going to be my boss.
Well, you ready?
And then I had we have brand new Bible workers. Took them out in the field. They worked so hard giving out flyers, inviting people to our friends and community guests at the church.
Nice.
And then went to do a house anointing. And so yeah, it was a busy day. That's supposed to be an off day, but it was pretty good. I'm thankful and I'm celebrating the fact that I have a job, the fact that I get to for people to invite you into their most vulnerable space and vulnerable time. And so we're grateful and I'm thankful to God for that.
Absolutely. I think it's a good time to encourage our viewers that when you think about Monday, we want to encourage you to celebrate Monday. Monday can be a tough day for some. Monday can be a tough day for a lot of people. But if we reorient our thinking,
intentionally,
we can get a lot more enjoyment, excitement, celebration, dare we, out of Mondays.
Good evening to our guests. We're so excited to have you, Sister Remo. I know you're out there because you've been telling me all day that you will see you tonight. If you're out there, you can say hello. You can talk to us. As a matter of fact, the way you win a gift by the end of the night is to communicate with us to let us know what you're thinking and what's going on and how you're doing. So I'm excited about our guest tonight. Well, before our guest,
we gotta talk shop. We gotta talk shop. So guys, here is what I want to remind you to do at any point. Could be now, could be 5 minutes from now, could be 10 minutes from now. It could be at the 45-minute mark. At any point, I want for you to jump on over to our shop, www.kwministries.net/shop. We have got quite a number of cool items that I think you will enjoy.
Nice. And I do think we have some really, really cool stuff that folk will enjoy. So I'm so grateful tonight that we're hosting. She's no stranger to us. She has been with us in person in Pennsylvania. She came the other day, and the next week I had to preach, and I was terrified to stand in pulpit. She just tore the place up and didn't really leave me anything there. And she's become a good family friend, wouldn't you say?
I would say so.
We have started this conversation about sex, and it has been really, really good. And so we've kept putting it off. And so this is what, the fourth time or third time Kayla is coming on for us to continue this conversation. So let's bring her in. There doesn't need to be any much introduction. She has a son, Denzel, who is more handsome than Denzel Washington.
Man.
She has a wonderful husband, and then she has a great grandmother who was with us a few weekends ago.
Yeah.
And so we're so grateful. Hi, Kayla. How are you?
Hey, everyone. I'm fine. How are you?
We're doing fine.
Better now to see your face.
Have you recovered from your hard work and your...
Yeah, it's crazy. And I know First Lady can definitely attest to this. You can work, you can do all that great stuff, but then when you come home, you are a wife and a mom. Like, it just goes back to life, back to normal ritual. And so, Yes, it was nice to feel like a princess or a queen for a day. And then, you got to come back. And I have a 2-year-old. So it's nonstop with needing something. And yeah, so God is good, though. So I'm very grateful either way. So thank you.
We're grateful to you. We're grateful to you.
Kayla, gosh, since the time that we have had her on the very first time, just a phenomenal force.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I like that. A phenomenal force.
Oh,
You can bring so much to the table. And I'm so excited that we were able to bring you back to continue this conversation that
yeah.
for a lot of people is not comfortable ground.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, by way of review, we're talking about sex. And last time we talked about how hard it is a conversation to have. And one of the reasons it's so hard to have is because of the guilt associated with it. Hi, there she goes. She's able to type in. Hi, Sister Remo. Thank you so very much. The guilt associated with it, and you really talked about that last time. And so we still haven't gotten into the bedroom yet.
Yes.
But before we get into the bedroom, because we're getting there tonight. Before we get into the bedroom, though, let's talk about church now. How do we have this conversation in church? And you are in your 20s, Kayla, so you're the perfect person to speak with this.
So, like we were talking about last time, when we start bringing sex and intimacy into the church space, we need to, one, do it with people who are ready to be honest about it. We cannot have honest conversation with people who don't want to talk. So that's one. So your leaders, your preachers, your pastor, your deacon, whoever is helping teach, they have to be open to answering questions. It doesn't necessarily always have to be about themselves, but they have to be comfortable with saying sex. That's the first thing, because your young people, your young adults, your married people, your married couples, they're gonna smell it right off when you are uncomfortable with just saying sex. You know what I mean? And if you're uncomfortable with that word, then they won't be hesitant to share anything else with you. And you don't want that. So first, it's having the leaders who are comfortable having the conversation. Two, having the space. Doing it for a 11 o'clock service might not be the time to talk, right? But let's have a special moment. Let's have during Vesper hour, or let's do a Friday night, or let's do a Sunday afternoon. You know what I mean? Something that takes off the intensity off of the conversation and talk.
So let me ask you something. Can you say 11 o'clock hour? So isn't sex sacred though? And shouldn't we be able to
For sure.
to have that discussion during that time?
For sure. But your congregation has to, one, be prepared for that. And the Bible talks about a lot of things with not letting your freedom become a stumbling block to others.
Right.
Granted, it's about speaking in tongues, but I can still use the same application here by your guests. You have guests that come in, and this is their first time. Let's say the first time coming to church in a long time. They need a word. They need to be revived. And with the conversation, all of a sudden the pastor starts talking about sex and birds and bees. Like, that could throw somebody off. You know what I mean? If that's not what it's for. So having a designated.
But even that acknowledgement, isn't that the problem though? Even that acknowledgement that we have to be so what's the word I want? Careful with that conversation. Doesn't that speak to the challenge that we have?
Yes, but it's just like talking about being Black and with mental illnesses or mental health. It's the same thing. Talking about it at an 11 o'clock hour can be very touchy depending on who's in the congregation, versus if you tell people, hey, we're talking about this subject at 6 o'clock on Friday, you are getting people who are coming to hear sex at 6 o'clock, not people who think they're going to get prayed over for their depression and their financial struggle, and you're talking about how to please your partner. Then you've missed it. And I feel like having certain conversations and reading the room is very important. And I know the therapist and counselor that's on this platform with me can agree with having certain conversations and not having them in a safe space, and you demolish everything you've tried to build up.
Yeah. Something that was on my mind as you guys were just having that discourse is just the idea that we're so careful about it because it's not just a church problem.
Oh yeah.
It's a societal issue where we're challenged with talking about sex in certain contexts, some greater than others. Yeah. But it's a societal issue. In the context where we're talking about it, North America, there are varying degrees of how you have the conversation about sex. And so I do agree that it's important to identify a space, and by so doing, well, who you're getting, just as you said, Kayla, who you're getting are individuals who are wanting that conversation, who maybe are ready for that conversation. Of course, there will also be those who are not ready for the conversation, but they're there anyway. But you're not going to get away from that. But at the very least, you have a dedicated space and time to feel safe for those who do want to go down that road.
Yeah, for sure.
I get that. I still have pushbacks, but I won't bother you all tonight. No, and because again, I just think that it's so. I don't think sex should be tabooed. I don't think sex should be. I think just like how we preach about financial healing and mental healing and all these different healings, I think we should be able to preach about sexual healing.
For sure.
Just like that. But again, you're saying work smart, not to be able to read the room and so forth and so on.
Yeah, even if you do a series on it, right, and you have flyers and you are telling people on the website, hey, we're doing a sex series every Sabbath or every whatever at 11 o'clock hour. So people are aware, cool, let me brace myself for what's about to happen. Because that shock factor can be more negative than positive if people are not aware. You don't want to coerce people into talking about something that's uncomfortable. You want them to know what it is and do it. Even, let's say, even if 3 people show up. Hey, we're still going to talk about this. For the next 5 months, every Saturday at 2, we're talking about sex. I'm pretty sure at the first 2-3 times, 5 people. By the time you've been doing it for month number 3, you might have 15. You might have 25. Because people are gonna be like, oh, I'm curious. I just want to listen. They're gonna sit way in the back. But it's okay, they're there. That's the main thing. They are there. And so that's what I'm saying. Like, we want to just, because it's not just sex, right? And of course, when we think about it, it's like, oh yeah, just have sex. No. When we spoke about it before, the times I was here, there's guilt and shame attached, right? A lot of people have sexual trauma associated with sex. So to bring it up in a place, and church is supposed to be sacred, it's supposed to be a safe place for me to be myself. It's supposed to be a safe place, like I said when I preach, to bleed. And if I can't bleed here, and I feel like you're pushing this down my throat without helping me, then you're scaring me. You're not helping me.
Right. All right, I'll leave that alone now. So now, well, since we are on KW Ministries Monday Night Live, let's talk about sex. All right, so Kamal and I have written a seminar, and one of the topics is great sex, and I think that's where I'd like us to start, and then bring Kayla in. Is the fact that sex begins with the mind.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think that's a part of the experience that is often lacking in our discussion about sex. We jump straight to the mechanics, physical act. Right? Yes. But we don't get into, well, what are the emotional components? What's going on in the minds and the relationships with the people who are engaging in sex, and how does that impact them?
So would you agree with that, Kayla? And if so, would you talk to us some about the sexual act itself begins in the mind?
Yes. So I agree wholeheartedly, right? Men tend to be more visual. Not saying that women are not.
I heard you say men. I immediately thought she was going to start men bashing. I was going to be like, you know what?
No, we don't. I don't do that. I don't do that. But men are visual. Women are very mental. We are mentally stimulated. If we have been telling you to put the toilet seat down, and you have not put that toilet seat down, but you want to turn around and ask me for something, this is not going to happen because I am upset here that I've been asking you to do a simple task that you refuse to do, but you want me to perform, or you want something out of me, but you have not given something I feel is of adequate equivalence. This is not going to work. If something you said irritated me the other day and it hurt my feelings, and I'm still meditating on that, and we have not got to talk about it, there's a good chance I don't want to perform, or my body will not perform the way it should. Why? Because I'm still upset with you right here, and you haven't unlocked this yet. You've hurt me here. And so every time I see you, I'm upset. Every time I think about you, I'm upset. I'm not turned on. Nothing about you flatters me. I'm irritated. So in here is the key. And so for a lot of my ladies who are just like, my husband wants me to do this, but I don't feel like it, and I don't know why. It's because there could be something that you have not spoken about to him up here, something that's challenging you up here in the mental. Because men, they could be mad and everything, but their wife could walk out naked and they just forget. And that's it. But women, we don't operate like that. We don't. A lot of times we don't, because we're thinkers. So many things to think about. There's things that we got to think about the children. We got to think about, oh man, what are we going to eat? You want to have sex between breakfast time and lunchtime, but I haven't even started on dinner. What are we going to eat? I haven't even thought up the chicken. Or there's all these things in our head. So our head has to be clear first before we can really release out of our body. And you will not see our best performance until this is healed, or clear, or at peace. So
now go ahead.
No, the question I have, I don't know that there's an answer to this, but okay. I'm leaning on you as the expert in this.
Okay.
Why is that? Why is it? I know we're speaking in general terms, but why is it that men and women are so different in that aspect?
But hold on, before you answer that, because I was your mom said the electric gets still.
Yes.
Well done, man.
So let's if we're gonna have an honest conversation, because I don't agree with Kayla. I don't agree at all. I agree that men are perceptually visual, or whatever. But to be aroused, you with me? But then what about the performance? So, are we saying the 3-second deal is it? We're just having sex for my pleasure, for me to ejaculate, and then it's over? Or are we talking about a meaningful, pleasurable meal where both people are satisfied? And I believe if that's done in that way, both people has to be mentally ready, Kayla.
Yeah. Okay. So one, we were speaking in general terms, just as a very large picture. There are a lot of derivatives to all of this.
Right.
Like I said, there are women who are just visual. There's some women who don't need a whole bunch. Like, you can just see you and that's it. And men vice versa. Now, when it comes to the intensity and the romance and the whole dating aspect and the making love aspect, whatever that looks like to you, yes, it does help if the mind is clear, and you can perform better if you are not stressed about something bad's gonna happen.
Right.
And a lot of times it can be self, right? And once again, I'm just talking about the mind in general, but there are a lot of things, not even just the house and the kids and the food, but what about me? If I'm body shy, if I'm ashamed of my mom body, if as a man, I feel like I have erectile dysfunction and
exactly,
it's very long.
Exactly.
Those things, oh yes, are all connected. The mind, yes, we're all connected. Right. I was just thinking in a general sense of, when we go into action, a lot of times men are quicker to respond than women if she's upset or if there's something going on in the mental. But both parties can experience that pause to where my body is not performing well. Just going into a little bit more detail because you allowed me to. With women, there are women who feel like they have vaginal dryness.
Mm-hmm.
That might not even be it. It might be the fact that you're not even turned on in the brain yet. Maybe your partner hasn't did the crock pot method yet. Maybe he's trying to microwave it up, but that's not how your body operates, And so you think that you have vaginal dryness, you think you have maybe like situations and medical issues, and it could not even be that. It could be the fact that you're not turned on here, or you haven't let yourself be free up here because something is still holding and occupying your mind in your headspace. And a lot of times when it comes to performance, such as erectile dysfunction and things of that nature, especially in men, the mind is very powerful. The mind is very powerful.
So kind of what I hear us saying, and you guys correct me if I'm right or wrong, but what I hear us saying is that we're talking about this along a spectrum. So we're talking about arousal separate from the sexual act itself, where how I heard you say it, Kayla, and how I heard you say it as well, hon, is initial arousal operates differently. Speaking in generalizations, men versus women. That initial arousal is where we see those differences in many cases where women may be less inclined to become aroused because there are other things going on in the mind, whereas a man will become aroused even if there are other things going on. But then when we get into the act itself,
exactly.
That's what I was saying. Okay.
Yes.
All right. So let's talk. So now let's talk. How do we prepare for sex? So, for example, I know, like earlier in our marriage, you would tell me, we start at work. Call me at work and compliment me. So how do we prepare for sex to be mutually enjoyed by both parties?
That depends on your partner. Everybody's situation is different. And I can say wholeheartedly, the number one reason why people...
Hold on one second, Kayla. Listen, guys, those of you who are watching, we need for you to join in the conversation, man, okay?
Absolutely.
We've spent 2 times before this? We've spent 2 hours.
We built up already.
We built up. We talked about no shame, no guilt. We talked about all of that.
If I may, we did all the foreplay.
We did all the foreplay. Sex time now. So jump in and have this conversation with us, okay? Don't just sit there and have this conversation with us, all right? Okay, go ahead, Kayla. I'm sorry about that. How do we prepare? You said it depends on their partner.
Yes, and number one reason why people do not enjoy their sex as a couple could be communication. Communication. We are carrying things that we learned from ex-partners, media, what we've heard, and we're carrying it into right now, and that's not how your partner operates. Also, lack of communication with growth, right? So the sex you had pre-children might not be the type of sex you have post-children. The sex you have pre-career might not be the sex you have post-career. Things have changed within all of us. Our bodies are changing, our minds are changing, we are maturing, we are growing, and
Sister Remo says she's learning.
I'm listening.
Oh, I know what she said. She said I'm learning.
So, if we don't communicate with our partner right now. So like you said, Kamala said, I like when you call me. You got to talk to me from morning from, Don't try and think this is going to start when you see me and I'm going to take a shower. No. You'll talk to me from the time I get to work. Before I reach work, you have to be already starting this crock pot situation. And granted, I don't believe that there is just a women or a monolith, like we're all the same, because we're not. And so like the point is, some of us want to be spoken to. Some of us, what are our love languages? What's your partner's love languages? How do they respond to love? How do they feel loved? Right? And so if For instance, my husband is a acts of service, quality time type of man, right? I am not. And putting my business out there, I'd be more like a microwave. My husband's more like a crock pot, you know? And so he likes when I call him during the daytime. He likes to hear from me all day. You know, all those things make him feel loved and it works for him. Um, I don't need all that. I don't need that. I don't need that at all. However, I have to listen to him because I can't expect him to give me his best if he hasn't felt love from me all day long. If he comes home and not because of necessary gender roles, but because I get home earlier than him, or sometimes I work from home, I cook and I get to clean and things. But if he has to come home from Timbuktu, find his own food somewhere, clean and run after Denzel, I can tell you this: I'm not gonna get anything. There's nothing gonna come from me.
We have some questions here. The first one: can I ask questions if I don't have a spouse? Of course. Yes, this is and one of the things we talked about, and Sister Chambers and the Shreveport and Mansfield and Coshada crew. You know, we weren't a part of your family. You weren't a part of our family when we initially had this conversation. But a big part of this is education. Yes. And that's what this is right now. It's education. So of course you can ask questions whether or not whether or not you're married. I think my mother-in-law is asking a really good question here. What if you communicate your partner? What if you communicate? Your partner cannot see it from your point of view, so to speak. So if I'm telling Kamala, here's what I need, but she can't see it from my point of view. Where are we end up? Right. What's happening there with us?
So not being able to see a point of view is very
ain't nobody getting nothing.
Yeah. That is bottom line. Nobody's gonna get anything. But finding a space where we can relay a message well, whether that be with an interpreter of some sorts, whether that be with somebody who can understand, right? When I needed to understand how my husband needed to be loved, I didn't necessarily need the opinion or the point of view of a man. My best friend, who is from Spanish Town, Jamaica, has my husband's personality type. And I spent almost 2 weeks with her. And hearing her perspective and hearing how the situations that my husband and I were having, our communication
issues.
Yes. Was just like hers, and her husband's like me, and she's like my husband. I was able to see the perspective better because I took myself out of it. Sometimes it's hard to hear with the person right next to you. It's easier to hear from somebody on the outside that can say to you, hey, okay, I can understand him or her, and this is exactly what they want, and break it down for you. Because it's like being able to hear with your external ear and your internal ear. It changes sometimes, right? And I know it gets irritating because it's like, but I've been telling you this the whole time. Yes, but it's hard for me to hear sometimes when you're in the same space with that person. So adding somebody that you trust to the conversation that can make it relatable, who's not going to pick a side, but somebody who's just going to be a mutual referee for the two of you.
All right, this is good. Let's review real quick. And Annika, in case Sister Electra is on, can you put on the what you call it, the caption? Can you please put on the caption? But let's review real quick. Sex starts with the mind.
Yes.
The mind has to be cleared and prepared and
healed.
And Kayla went on and on about women, but I cleared the air. That is true for men also, because there's a difference between arousal, bam slam, and enjoying your partner. Yes. For example, I don't enjoy sex unless my wife is fully satisfied. If my wife is not fully satisfied, I don't enjoy it. It takes away from me. It takes away from because we're on this whole our value system. I'm hesitant to say it takes away from me feeling like a man, because that's not how we define our.
Amen.
But I want to say I don't feel like I did a good job. I don't feel like
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So my wife, and I promise you, that's every man. We might laugh, or we might, oh, I got mine, whatever. No, if we are going to a contract and our partner that we love and care, I'm not talking about, and something we didn't say, Kayla, and I know we're not really for purity culture and all that. I know all that, but something is to be said that sex is, God designed sex for a particular situation between a married man and a married woman being married to each other.
Yes.
Being married to each other.
Yes, that's
right?
So
so that has to be the level, the starting point for us as Christians, is that sex is for married people. Now, what we're saying, what Kayla and us are saying, is that's not everybody's story. That wasn't my story. That's not my wife's story. I don't know Kayla's business. But you don't run around feeling guilty because that's not your story.
Yeah.
You don't carry shame because that's not your story. You don't carry guilt because that's not your story. But at the same time, that needs to be our story. Sex needs to happen within the context of marriage.
Yes.
With that said, you want to make sure your mind is clear on both sides. You want to make sure that your partner, you are communicating well with your partner. What about this one? Back to what Sister Glenn said earlier. How do you communicate with your partner to say what you want? For example, many people believe that you should know how to satisfy your partner. Where do you come on that?
People saying that they should know.
Right, like you should, like I'm telling Kamala, you should know how to satisfy me.
I shouldn't have to tell you what I want.
Right.
That's all very wrong. It's all very wrong.
That's all movies, huh?
Yes. Everything comes with a manual. Everything comes with directions and instructions. Our body's the same way. What worked for your ex is not going to work for the current. What worked for your current definitely didn't work for your ex. And that is something that people need to understand and accept. And this is why it's so important to talk. But this is why, like 3 episodes ago, we talk about the mind, and we talk about guilt, and we talk about shame. When you first start dating somebody, that is the time to talk about sex. And I have girls, when I tell them that, I'm like, okay, well, on your first date, you better start asking some good questions. They're like, oh, it's so early. No, ma'am, it's not. Nothing is ever too early for me, because we need to understand, right? Because if you're into something that I don't think I'm prepared for, this is not the relationship for me, you know? Mm-hmm. And we need to understand your sexual expectations, right? And so and when you understand that the body doesn't all work the same, everybody likes different things, and understanding your partner and where they're coming from. There could be a pace and certain tricks and techniques that your partner might not be accustomed to, because the last person who tried to do that, maybe they were abusive, maybe they were controlling. And so you have to learn about triggers and traumas. And this is why my demographic, and even Pastor Winston and First Lady Kamala, we're talking about married couples, how important it is for that bond. Mm-hmm. Because to keep on relearning somebody every time, it is, your brain hurts. It hurts.
But we weren't designed for that, though.
That too, but that's what I'm saying. The body wasn't designed for it. The mind, our emotional needs weren't designed for it. And you're putting yourself in a deeper situation to where you learn somebody learns you, and then you break up in 2 weeks, and now you have to redo this for somebody else. It's a whole process all over again. And it's very strenuous, especially when talking about opening up and talking about what your triggers are and traumas, if you have them, dealing around sex and things of that nature. So let's just myth bust. No one person is gonna go into it and know every little thing. They might have the luck at that moment. However, it is very important to communicate to your partner what you do and do not like, and what you're willing to try.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I have the thought now that, being willing to communicate with your partner is not just something that happens within the act of sex itself. Because I think that's part of the problem sometimes, is that maybe we've communicated while having sex, but there's never any other conversation about sex.
Yes,
So we don't give ourselves an opportunity. We don't have breakout sessions to talk about, hey, here's what do a little bit different this time. We don't have those kind of conversations. And again, I'm thinking back to what you said about when you have those conversations with people, you say, have the conversation early and you get that pushback. It takes us right back to that whole guilt and shame conversation about sex in and of itself. We don't want to have the conversation at all. We don't have the conversations at all. And I can speak from my own context in terms of I just didn't grow up in that culture of speaking openly about sex. No shade on my parents. They provided all the things, they talked, but we didn't talk.
But Hilbert didn't talk about sex. Right, Hilbert?
Why are you gonna call him a daddy like that?
He's right there.
No, but that was the culture. And so you grow up with this idea that, we don't really talk about this. So how do I even talk to my husband about this? And so for a long time, I don't know that I communicated half of what you needed to know. And that was important, even though we talked about some things, there were other things that we didn't talk about.
Oh yeah.
So we might even be able to have the conversation about, here's what I like, but when things go awry, maybe I don't reach an orgasm, I don't talk to my partner about that, because then I don't want to shame my partner. But again, I don't give him any room. I don't give him any feedback.
How about
the experience to be better for both of us?
Like when we first got married, you'd lie all the time.
Truth.
So how do you deal with that for women who believe and men? Well, men don't deal with that. We can't lie about that.
Yes, you can.
Yes, you can.
Oh, it happens all the time.
I think the conversation really needs to be taught in those days. Sex was a taboo subject. Yes, ma'am. We agree. So we don't blame you, Sister Glenn. All right. So, so let me ask. So, Kayla, what do you say then? And time is flying. It's 8:37. My gosh, what do you say then to ladies who feel the need, or men who feel the need to not say, "I'm not being satisfied. This isn't working for me"?
Okay. So sometimes when we decide to lie about what we want or what we like, it's because we're afraid of hurting the other person's feelings, or we're afraid of the reaction to us, right? If I felt like I gave it 1,000, and I'm like, yeah, that was great, wasn't it? It was amazing, wasn't it? Sometimes you might be hesitant to be like, it wasn't, baby, it wasn't. Because you don't want to burst the bubble. You don't want to take me off of this high of feeling like I did something great. And also, if you've been with somebody and you're like, babe, I really didn't enjoy it, I really didn't feel it. And the response to you is, well, because there's something wrong with you. That's why. It shuts you down. You don't want to say anything. And if that was your ex-partner, granted, your new partner could be so loving, so welcoming, so affirming, but that old partner is still in your head. Once again, here we go to the mental again.
Yes.
And so the mind has so much to play in it. And so what I say to the lady or the man that's having a hard time, let's talk about what you did not like in a safe place. And like Sister Kamala said, maybe while you're in it might not be the time for me to say something, but let's designate sexy time or quality time or date night time where we have candid conversations. Didier.
So since we're talking candidly, can we say something candid? Kamala hates to be called First Lady. Kamala hates to be called Sister Kamala. Kamala hates to be called Miss Kamala. Her name is Kamala. Since we're talking candidly, let's say, okay, go ahead, sorry.
It just be coming out. I'm sorry.
I'm just like, since we're saying what we like and what we don't like.
So, yes.
Having
that conversation. Yeah, I have to remember having that conversation at times where both parties are not at the defense. You know what I mean? Don't tell me my cooking is bad in front of my mother-in-law at the table. Don't tell me that, right? let's talk about my cooking at a whole different place. Maybe after the shower or when I wake up, something where the environment isn't hostile, right? Because this can go very bad. That's one. So pick your environments wisely, pick your time wisely, and choose your words wisely. We're not going to start with, you know what? This is why I can't even stand sleeping with you. Ooh, I'm not going to start that.
Yeah.
We're not going to go there. I always start with, so, sweetheart, how did you feel that was last night? Let's get your perspective. How do you feel? What was your highs and lows? What would you like to work on? What would you rate our moment that we had together last night? Okay. And they're like, yeah, I think it's a 6. I think we could make it a 9 next time, though, if we brought more towels or if...
All right, Kayla.
Something. I'm trying to think. I'm sorry.
You know, my shape stuff. Come on now.
I'm trying to be kosher.
This is the point, right?
Yes. Yeah, but
can I pause you just there for just a second? What you just said a while ago. This is what happens to all of us, and it has happened to me at times throughout this conversation too. Not because I don't want to have it, but because this is how we have been programmed. It doesn't matter. It's part of the conversation. Okay. You know what I mean?
What happened?
Nothing. Go ahead. I was just being a Hilbert Glenn back in the day. That's all. He's not saying what helped him. Good communication is what it needed in every relationship.
There you go.
Ashley, welcome to the family. Ashley, we're so happy that you're on. Ashley Gwynn, thank you so much for coming on. We're so grateful for you. Yes, this is what we do here. We're crazy, okay? All right, Kayla, let's go on to now. So it's mind, it's communication. Let's talk about body shaming. Let's get that in here for a second. How do women and men appreciate, and you talked about this earlier. You said sex is different before children and after children. How do we appreciate the stretch marks? How do we appreciate, when I met my wife was about 105 pounds, okay?
Just about.
About 105 pounds. No, she's not 105 pounds anymore. We do deception.
As we talk about body shaming.
we do deception. We don't do self-deception around here, okay? So of course, we have grown together. We've grown together. But how does the men continue to appreciate the woman with stretch marks, with, after the babies are finished with the breast, after, how do men continue to appreciate their partner, and how do women, more importantly, appreciate themselves now that their body is changing and they don't look like when they were 16 years old?
So, and this is why I love what I do. The first answer is Jesus. I'm very serious. Your relationship with God is...
I thought you couldn't hear us. How come you're hearing us? I thought you couldn't hear. But she still looks good. I thought you couldn't hear.
Thank you, John.
After I'm here badgering Anna Kay to put up caption for you, then you're gonna butt in here, but she still looks good. I look better, just so we're clear, okay? Go ahead, Kayla.
God is going to help you see your spouse the way you are supposed to see your spouse.
Hallelujah.
And
Hallelujah.
have eyes for your spouse.
Yes.
There is so much immaturity.
She can't help herself. She's a preacher.
Yeah, go for it, girl.
She can't help herself. Go ahead, Kayla.
Hush. No, there's a lot of maturity that has to happen for you to look at somebody who you put children in, and you have changed her body, and now her body's different, for you to turn up your nose and say you're not what you used to be. Right? We need a lot of growing up. Right? And now granted, real quick, there's a lot of postpartum that happens for women. And a lot of us, we do give up. We do. There's a lot of us, we don't try anymore because we don't feel it. But it's, once again, it's in the mind. And I totally believe God helped me clear my mind so I can get back to me. And I teach women to be sexy for yourself first. Don't worry about a man. Don't worry about the old photos. Don't worry about your mother-in-law who keeps telling you look healthy. Don't worry about anybody. Worry about you, because they do. They do it all the time. Worry about you. Love it for you. Girl, if you love this new post-mommy body, rock the post-mommy body. Rock it and love it and embrace it, right? And then
I don't like how Kayla is just talking to the girls, you know. We have you on here.
You asked us.
We have you on here.
And then I just said, and then
Max said we need to stop seeing sex as taboo. Sexual pleasure is not sin. That's right. That's right, Max. That's right.
Like I was trying to say, Pastor. And then for some men, there are your athletic body you used to have in college and things like that. Let's say you got injured, right? Let's say
just say
let's say depression, let's say time, these things, let's say illness, let's say health has happened. Remember, we said for sickness and in health, you know what I mean?
Let's say the natural aging process.
Yes. And let's say, and a lot of times our men, ladies, they go through things and they'll be like, oh, look at the gut on you. You should look like so-and-so. You should go to the gym with so-and-so's husband. That is body shaming. You are tearing down this man's image, right? And we all know that men are fragile. Okay.
What did I say about the man bashing on my program? It's my program.
That wasn't a bash. That was an affirmation. We need a little fragile. And so honestly, we have to say things. There's ways to say things, and there's ways to build each other up. If you feel I'm a little heavy and I feel that you're a little heavy, let's work out together, baby. Let's get these summer bodies together, you know? And that's our goal. That's our sexy time. That's our bonding. But all of this, once again, starts in the mind with how you view yourself and how you view your partner. Communication.
Yes.
There is, remember I said, we're all visual. At the end of the day, we all have eyes. We're all visual. It's hard to have sex with somebody you are no longer physically attracted to. Amen or amen?
Amen.
Right?
That's true.
It's hard for me to get aroused. It's hard for me to perform when I don't care to look at you because I feel like you've let yourself go. But here's my thing. Don't have so much opinion and criticism that you have no solution. If you know your spouse is troubled with weight or with stretch marks, pay for it to be fixed. Help them go to the gym. Motivate them. Cook a different meal. Don't just tell them to go on a diet. Let's all eat healthier. You know what I mean? Let's buy.
This is good, Kayla.
Let's buy body oils. There are body oils. Bio oil is for stretch marks. Cocoa butter, baby. Before we have sex, I'm gonna slather you down. Yes, I'm gonna slather you down to some bio oil for them stretch marks. But we're gonna get this going. Turn it into something beautiful. Don't make it like somebody else has to work by themselves. Do you know why people give up with working out and they don't feel motivated hitting their goals? Because they feel like they're doing it alone. Yeah. Don't make me feel like I'm trying to hit this goal alone. Yeah. Help me. Help me.
Yeah. Let me ask you this. Go ahead, Mom.
No, I was just going to say, I love the way you've talked about this because I think it's consistent with a lot of things you've said since the start. How we have the conversation, how is so crucial. Yes. Because it makes a big difference. I could say the very same words, but the how in which I say it makes a difference to how that is received. And I think we also have to have those clarifying conversations when we're talking with our partners, be it about sex or changes in body. Like, how did you hear what I said? Yeah. Because sometimes how I hear it may not be the way you intended it, but I heard it that way nonetheless, and it still becomes a barrier.
Yeah, and I heard it through my trauma ears.
Exactly.
You know.
We have 10 minutes left, and in the 10 minutes, I want to talk about something very delicate. Okay. And so real quick, the rest of it in the bedroom, you have to explore each other, you have to get to know each other, and you just have to have fun with each other.
You do.
Have fun with each other. connect on an intellectual, spiritual level.
Yes.
Connect on an intellectual, spiritual level. The eyesight thing is temporary. The eyesight thing is not going to last. Period. If what you connect, if all he's saying to you is you're beautiful, leave.
Yeah.
No. Say it again, Winston. If all he's saying to you is you're beautiful, run. Because one day you're not going to look like
this way. Preach.
Okay? I want to talk about something very delicate now. Infidelity.
Yeah.
How do we go back? Or how do we, no, because we're nobody trying to go back. How do we enjoy each other after unfaithfulness? I know you were prepared for that question.
I mean, not that I'm not prepared, but I can still answer it. So this is not a one size fits all. It's not. There are some people that sex is not the problem for them. It's either the misuse of trust or the misuse of funds. If you have been paying or taking care of the person that you've been cheating on me with, I'm more upset about the 50,000 that's been gone over the course of 5 years versus the fact that you had sex. That doesn't bother me because sex is nothing to me, you know? And then there's some people who the act is so incriminating. It hurts so much. It hurts so much. The fact that you would go against our marital bounds and you would sleep with somebody else, especially the why. Counseling is so important. It's so important. We have to talk about it. We have to hit this thing head on, because cheating does not look the same for everybody, nor does it have the same effect. If you've been with someone, like if we just got married yesterday and I cheated 5 years ago while we were dating versus I cheated while you were in the hospital with our newborn baby. These are two different aspects, you know? The woman who cheats when her husband's away in military versus the woman who cheats with her work husband because the work husband is the one who buys her lunch and sits with her at her desk. Everything is there's so much to wrap around it, Pastor. I can't get to just the basis right now, but I will say therapy. You need it. And we need to come to some type of conclusion. Are we in this to stay through it? Right. Or has this broken us? Because yes, I am one of those people who believe that marriage should be something we work on. But there are some things that are so broken, it's hard to repair. And only God himself is going to put us back together. And there's a difference between I cheated at an infidelity situation. This is a one-time season. And I habitually do this because I myself am broken and I need help. And I'm not going to be anywhere near the person you need to be with in a marriage anytime soon because there's a difference.
So let me ask, and I heard you loud and clear, Kayla, and this is the age that we're in, and I get that. But let me ask a question. For example, my wife and I have been, to hell and back, and as a matter of fact, this program, our whole KW ministry comes out of the pain that I have inflicted on our marriage. Well, I talk for myself. My wife has been patient with me to get to a place where I would, you used this word earlier, mature, where I would, what would you say to young couples? Well, let me not ask you that, Kayla. Let me ask you, what would you say to young couples that are going through some very challenging times right now, to include wasting of money, infidelities, what something Kayla said, spending money on somebody else. What would you say to those young couples right now that are going through some really tough times?
I'm gonna add on to something Kayla said. Have a counselor.
Yeah.
Have a therapist.
Yeah.
because you have to have a real conversation about these things. Because the longer you wait to have conversation, is the more damage.
Should they throw away their marriage?
You have to have the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Whether you come to that to the conclusion that we can no longer be, there has to be a
conversation. I don't know that. I don't, because I heard Kayla say that too. I don't know that there's ever a place to say we can no longer be. And I'm not talking about if you're being physically abused, then, first of all, you need to just leave immediately. If you're being physically abused, if you're being verbally abused, I guess sexually abused would be an abuse too.
Right.
But I don't know that you should be so quick though.
It's not quickness
to throw away your marriage.
It's not quickness. I'm not saying quickness at all.
Mm-hmm.
What I'm saying is actually in keeping with what you just said.
Yeah.
So if I am in this context and I am continually, emotionally, verbally, physically, sexually, and all of those things abused, then it's important for us to really assess and see, can this be? Because we're both in this, right? We're both acknowledging the damage that has been done, and we both have to come to the table, even if we're not coming at the same time, even if we're taking baby steps, but there has to be some forward movement. Because if there's none, if it's one-sided, or there's not one, that's not even what I want to say. If there's continual abuse while somebody is trying, then what's going to happen to that individual eventually?
Mm-hmm. All right,
not they're just abusing each other.
Kayla, it's 8:56. You get the last day before we find out who our winner is tonight.
Okay. You were just saying about throwing away the marriage. Why are we so quick to throw it away? Correct? That was okay. Cheating, especially cheating, not cheat one time, but we continue to do this. It's a habitual, it's a habit for you. That is abusive. That is abuse. You're abusing not only the trust that we have, you're abusing me emotionally and mentally by telling me, oh, it's the last time, or I'm not going to do it again. And this is what you do. You already have them set up. That is abusive. And if you come to the conclusion, and there are some people who are like, hey, I just can't change. This is how I am. This is not the place for somebody who wants to grow. If somebody in a relationship wants to be whole and come together, and you have another person who wants to destroy, then you are not making the decision to divorce and mash up the marriage. No, the person who is doing the abuse has made that decision that this is not wholesome. This is not where I want to be, because my actions have showed me that. And when you have a problem, you get help. And if you are refusing to get help for whatever the situation that causes you to cheat, then you are showing me what has more power at this point. And our love does not have that power. And so that's my 2 cents right there.
So mine is be patient with each other. I agree with everything Kayla said. I agree with everything Kamala said. But from my own story, my wife should have thrown me away years ago. And, my friend Lenny, who's probably watching, but is not clicking on, so we don't know he is. He's going to yell at me tomorrow for saying this, but that's okay. I'll take it. My wife should have thrown me away years ago. I'm grateful to God that she was patient with me. We're enjoying our marriage. We're having fun. We're living, I believe, our very best lives. Our children aren't with us right now. And we miss them dearly. As much as we can start the conversation.
We'll start it.
So we'll start crying. But it's like a second honeymoon for us. So what I'm trying to say is, don't be quick to throw away your marriage. First of all, there is no perfect marriage. Don't let nobody fool you. I don't care how good she looks. I don't care what the kid talk about how muscular he is. I don't care about any of that. There is no perfect marriage. There are two selfish people, two people who want their own way. You've got to put them together to tell them to become one. That's opposite to every single thing we have become as human beings. Mm-hmm. So there's nothing easy about a marriage. If you are divorced and if you're divorced and you can go get the professional help that you need to restore your marriage, restore your marriage, listen, it doesn't matter who you can come and marry me if you want to. You won't be happy. You can marry Kamala if you want to. You won't be happy. You can leave me and go find somebody else. You won't be happy. We're people. It doesn't matter who you're with. We're people. Yes, people are more compatible with each other, blah, 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 blah. At the end of the day, we're selfish human beings.
We take ourselves with us.
We take ourselves with us in every, Anike hashtag, we take ourselves with us in every relationship. All right, we have a winner tonight. Wait, before we go, Brother Glenn said,
both men and women's bodies change as we get older. We need to appreciate each other as we go through these changes.
McIntosh said,
this was a tough one.
This was tough. I saw it too.
He said, I met a married woman in the church. She told me if my husband hit me, then it's because I did something wrong. No, man.
Kayla, I think we're coming back for part 5. Kayla, I think we're coming back for part 5. But I hope you explain to her, Matt, that no, man.
No, what love looks like.
One, she's not a child. So no one, that's called, that's a crime.
You don't even need to qualify.
It's a crime for an adult to put their hands on another adult. It's a crime. And don't get me wrong, if both of you are boxing it out, that's y'all's problem. I'm not talking about y'all boxing it out. That's grown folk problem. I'm talking about somebody hitting somebody. I
said they're both being abusive at that point.
But yeah, that's right. But don't let nobody put their hand on it. Anyway, Sister Glenn said,
there's never any easy way to end a marriage if you went until death do us part.
I know she does not like being beaten.
No.
She grew up seeing somebody beating somebody and she has settled into that.
That is a trauma response.
That's a trauma response. There we go. And we don't deal with that. All right. Who's the winner, Anna Kay? Thank you all so much for hanging out with our crazy selves tonight. Kayla, I don't know, but I had a lot of fun. Didn't you have fun? It was a lot of fun. Lots and lots and lots and lots of fun. Who's our winner, Anne? We only have 7 entries? I would have had more. I do want somebody to win. I want Ashley Quinn to win.
Oh.
McIntosh! All right. Dr. Thurlow. Congratulations, sir. Congratulations. Doc, here's how you get your prize. Head over to KWministries.net. KWministries.net.
/claim your prize. Right at the bottom of your screen.
Fill that out, and Annika is going to get in touch with you and send you a gift card so that way you can go shopping in our store. Woo-hoo. We thank you so very, very, very much. We're so grateful to you, sir. And we wanted to publicly say thank you so very much to someone who has made a rather large donation to our ministry. I don't know if they want me to call their name, so I won't call their name tonight after I get permission from them. But we want to tell you, and you know who you are, thank you very, very much. We're very, 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 very appreciative and grateful. No, Kayla, you're not getting any. No. We're very appreciative and we're very grateful.
Celebration one day.
Celebrating. Oh, she's celebrating us.
I'm celebrating.
All right, Kayla, tell us the last word and then let's say good night.
Bottom line is, give it to God and let him speak to you through all parts of this marriage, even when it comes to infidelity, because God changes hearts. He's still in the heart changing business. He still gives you answers. He still is the designator of peace and comfort. And he restores. He does restore. Amen. So just want to leave with that thought process.
Hashtag God restores. Kamala, it's Monday night.
You're live with KW.
Peace. See you next time.